What's up, everybody? My name's Big Cam and welcome back to another Comically Boston Breakdown episode. And today we are talking a little bit of Star Wars with episode or chapters 5 and 6 of Maul Shadow Lord. And that would be chapter 5, Inquisition, and chapter 6, Night of the Hunted. But previously on the last episode, episode 3, Devin escaped from her little cell and fights Maul, but Maul has one hand behind his back, but lets her go. And then in episode 4, Maul fought Devin and her master Daki, but Maul could have ended both of them, but lets them live. What is he up to? But Two Boots forgives Captain Lawson for turning him off without his permission, but will Lawson forgive Two Boots as he sees and we see that Two Boots called the Empire and a starship entered Genix's atmosphere, which then leads us directly into chapter 5 titled Inquisition. Maybe some Inquisitors we're about to see, or maybe just Inquisitor 1. Merrick, I don't know what number he is, 5, 7, 15, who knows? Anyone knows what number, because like aren't the Inquisitors brothers? And so, you guys know better than me. Comment below, any genius people out there, what number is Marak, or if he's just a fart in the wind like in Ahsoka. But we open up this episode and the Empire is pretty much where we left off, and they're landing on Genix and taking over the place, and Devin and Daki need to find a way off the planet before it is locked down. And we see the Empire's Lieutenant Blake, who's a real prick, and he, takes command of Genix, and he's a real ass to the woman chief, Lawson's boss there, the chief of police, and he questions her first. And the Empire just arrived and is already just causing problems and taking over the planet and doing exactly what Lawson thought they would do. So Lawson was correct. It's the Empire's bad news, so maybe that's why he divorced that ex-wife. Over with Maul, Rook Cass recommends getting off the planet, but Maul says, not yet. And she's like, is this about that girl? She tried to kill you. And Maul says, an admirable attempt. She will make an excellent apprentice. Oh God. And then he goes, stick to the plan. And Dario cuts in yeah, what's that plan? Am I a part of that plan? Am I a prisoner? And Maul tells Dario he's lucky that he's alive, and that's, you should be grateful. And he's like, okay, I am, but am I a prisoner? And Maul says that their business is concluded and he's free to leave and take his chances with the Empire. And he walks away from him, kind of hobbling off with and his knees bothering him, because last episode Daki kicked him in the knee and he was like, "Arr!" He got all angry at him. But Dario's like, maybe I'll stick around because he doesn't want to take his chances with the Empire, and he's like, maybe I'm better off with Maul. He's not mad at me, doesn't want to kill me at the moment, so maybe I'll be alright with him. I don't think Dario's long for this world. But back at the police headquarters, it's now Captain Lawson's turn to get interrogated, and it sounds like maybe they killed that woman police chief, and it wasn't even her fault, it was Lawson's fault, so he feels guilty. And Lawson sees in the interrogation room claw marks on the table, like she was clawing the table in pain, or maybe she was getting dragged away forcefully, or worse. But she's probably dead, and the Empire probably killed her. And also in this room, Lawson sees a hologram in front of him of Maul, and we see that the person interrogating Lawson is Marak, the Inquisitor that we know from Ahsoka getting turned into a fart cloud. But Marak says, tell me everything. Ooh. We then cut over to Daki and Devin, and they talk, and Devin thinks maybe Maul has a point. They shouldn't always be running and hiding with their powers. They're powerful. They should do what they please. And the real enemy is the Empire. And Daki says, it's your voice, but Maul's words I hear. Don't allow his poison to affect your mind. The Empire may be our common enemy, but Maul will never be our ally. Ooh. I love little Docky and hitting that State Farm man's voice so deep and perfect. But also, like, what kind of alien creature is Docky? I kind of like it. He's like reptilian, but he has like this pointed head, but he's also a badass Jedi. Love it. Love to see it. It's something about the aliens in Star Wars. Like, they're so fascinating. Like, you could literally watch Star Wars on mute and not even listen to the story, and just the visuals and like the aliens and the creatures are just so fascinating to me. You know, like, it's so good just to be in this world. Like, I'm so hyped that Maul's going right now, and then right around the corner we have Mandalorian and Grogu in that final trailer. I don't know if you guys saw that. I absolutely think that looks sick. I can't wait to see more and find out more about this movie and feast my eyes on the big screen with Star Wars again. But if you guys missed the other day that trailer reaction, go check that out. And I think yesterday a big old friggin' chunky, probably my chunkiest weekly nerdy news came out talking about everything at CinemaCon last week. And yeah, a lot of news, big news week. But back to Maul Shadow Lord, and Lawson's son Riley tries to come to the police station to his father, but Two Boots sees him and is a dumbass droid, and he's just immediately like, your father, you know, he'll see you again, maybe, if, you know, they decide it's okay. And like, the droid's just only got droid functions. He doesn't have humanity, doesn't have a soul, you know, but he does have something deep down in there. So maybe Two Boots will turn and he'll be a good guy like we want him to be. But at the current moment, I hate Two Boots. He's the reason the Empire's here. He's an asshole. Like, I hate him. And Riley's like looking at Two Boots like, you've known me your whole life, and you could like maybe see something behind those dead robot eyes, like, maybe I have known him my whole life. But he's like, you have to get out of here, and he tries to escort him out, gets stopped for a second by that awful lieutenant, but you know, he tells him, get him out of here. And maybe this Lieutenant Blake, seeing that Lawson has a son, he's like, all right, I can't, you know, I can't kill him, because I think, you know, they are questioning Lawson, but they don't necessarily believe what he's saying. But we hear Docky's plan as he's talking to Devin, and it's just to hide out in some ruins nearby and wait out the Empire as they find Maul, and then hopefully they, you know, loosen up their grasp and then they can get off the planet. But as they're, you know, making this little escape to these ruins, a train pulls up full of stormtroopers, and they try to like kind of slip out the back, and Docky uses some Jedi mind tricks on a stormtrooper on one of them, but there's too many, and another one notices, and they get found out and, you know, start shooting, and they run off, and they're able to hide and get away for a moment. But Docky seems hurt, but he says he's not dead yet. Lawson's son Riley then calls his mother for help, you know, because she works with the Empire, and he asks her to come home, but she says just cooperate with them and everything will be okay. Fucking bullshit ass Empire excuse. And like, be a mother, come home to your son. Like, what a terrible mom. I hate her. She's an Empire, she's a bitch. Unless she's like a spy or something for the rebels, and she's like inside, you know, like that's the only way they can redeem this woman, because at this current moment she's just an Empire hag. But we see shots then of Marak investigating the, you know, looking for Maul. And I love the way that Marak looks in this animation. He looks cool as hell. And he's walking around and he touches lightsaber marks from the last episode. And he's like walking through the crime scene of where they were fighting last. And he sees like, you know, the markings of where a fight just happened between two Jedi lightsabers. As like there's scorch marks on the ground and on a container. And as he walks up to them and touches them, he kind of can hear and force sense what's happening. And the only other time I've seen this is Cal Kestis in his Force Echoes from the video game Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor. And hopefully they're making a third video game for Cal Kestis, because he's a legend. But depending on when this is set, I'm not exactly sure. I think Cal Kestis would be a young boy, so I don't think necessarily that it's him. But like, what if Marak was Cal Kestis or something? Like, I doubt it, but like, what? Like, I don't know. I think Cal Kestis, as much as even in Jedi Survivor he has some dark tendencies, I don't think he's gonna turn Sith on us. I think Cal Kestis is a hero. But anybody that played those video games out there, comment below. Do you like those games, and are you excited for the third one? I know I am. But we then see Spybot is getting intel from Maul, and he finds out that the Jedis didn't make it out of the city. And we see Maul is getting his knee repaired, and you can see a quick Easter egg of Savage Opress, who was Maul's brother, and it's like this little medallion thing or something, like a little necklace that he used to wear. And I was like, why'd they include this little shot? Is this just something like in the background of him getting this little knee touch up? Because obviously he needed repairs because he's half a robot. He's not the, he can't put ice on it or back to heal like a normal human. He's majority parts at this point, I believe. Not really. He's still got his horns. That's where all the power is, in those horns, baby. But a little Savage Opress Easter egg for anybody that's fan out there of the boy. And when Rook Cass comes and tells Maul that the Jedis didn't make it out of the city, he's like, how fortuitous. I'm still working on that Maul impression. It's hard to do. It's deep but monotone. Oh, there it is. Monotone. The Jedi. Like it's got some gravel in there, but it's like deep. It's like back in the throat. I gotta work on that Maul impression. Back at the police station, Lawson gets told that he's free to go, and the Empire thanks him for his cooperation. And he's like, yeah, I'm sure they do. And we see Lawson go home to his son, and Daki and Devin are there hiding out in his living room. And Lawson's like, oh, you gotta be kidding me, and face palms. So now he's harboring a Jedi, which is probably the worst crime against the Empire, and they're going to be after his ass. Plus, the way that they let him go, I don't think they necessarily are believing him. So that's credits on episode 5, and that takes us directly into episode 6, Night of the Hunted, and we open on Maul doing some saber practice, and he's flipping around, and I have a little clip of this just because of how badass he looks. I wonder if Sam Witwer did this motion himself and they really captured it. Someone did, because the animation looks so good, and it looks so fluent. But this is the way that Maul meditates or whatever. But also Maul must just be constantly practicing, and this is why he's so sharp with that double blade, and he's just so good and unbeatable. But our girl Rook Cass comes to Maul and shows him security footage of the Inquisitor Marak, and Maul's face looks pissed as we cut into the intro, and we come back to Lawson telling Daki and Devin that they have to go, and Daki asks for a moment alone with just the adults in the room, and Devin and Riley go to his room, and Daki tells Lawson his real name is Jedi Master Iko Diodaki. I'm gonna stick to Daki, but Iko Diodaki, my man. Master, and his Padawan is Devin, and they survived the Jedi Purge, and they are simply just trying to find refuge. They were passing through his planet. They're not trying to fuck it up. They're trying to get off. Maybe he knows some smuggling routes, but Lawson is like, it's nothing simple about what you just said, and I can't help you. I got a kid to think about. I'm sorry. And Riley and Devin are in his room, and they're kind of cute. I was like, oh, these little two, they're probably about the same age. I was like, they've grown up very different lives, but, maybe they could be cute together. Maybe that will be something that, maybe they'll kiss or something that will make my heart. If you guys don't know, I'm a sucker for a love story. So, this show I'm already so into, just with Maul and Sam Witwer, and just hit every line that he says he's eating up. And then the action has been so good. But if they add a little love story mixed into this as well, I'm going to be here for it. You know what I mean? Like, I love me some love, But Daki, back at Lawson's place, asks him what happened when they interrogated him, and he goes, it was an Inquisitor. And Daki's like, did he ask about me? And he goes, yeah, obviously I didn't tell him about you guys, but I don't think he believed me. And just then, Marak cuts down his front door, and Daki and him fight in their living room as they escape out the window and climb up to the roof. And Daki and Marak's lightsaber sparks start a fire in Lawson's apartment and start burning down his family photos photos, so, you know, they're probably not going to be coming back to this planet anyways, because the Empire wants to kill them, but, you know, even if they wanted to, their shit's going to be all burnt down, so it looks like they gotta go find a new place to live, and they're just going to be on the lam and searching refuge just like the Jedi now. It's funny when the Empire shows up how things can quickly change like that, but Marak force pushes Daki back and, you know, has him looking like he's going to be defeated, but Daki thinks quickly and pulls the ceiling light down on Marak and is able to escape out the window and get up to the roof with the rest of the team. But up on the roof we see the Empire's transport is already there and opens fire on them, and Lawson shoots back and his son's like, "What are you doing?" But, like, you know, Lawson already knows that these guys aren't his friends, and, you know, he's definitely not a cop anymore in their eyes. And Devin's there talking to him and gives him attitude, and she's like, "Maybe the roof wasn't the best idea?" And Lawson's like, "Maybe showing up at my front door wasn't the best idea?" You know, like, they're both giving each other shit. But Devin, we see, takes out most of the stormtroopers, and it looks like she's maybe slightly more aggressive, so maybe she's taking some of Maul's moves and implying them herself. And Daki goes, "Devin, take that transport." She jumps up and, like, force pulls him out of the cockpit and jumps into the cockpit herself and starts flying the transport, and they load up Lawson and Riley, but then Marak comes up to the roof and is fighting Daki again. She shoots a blast to distract him for a moment so Daki can get on, and they're flying away, but the Empire is chasing them down and they have more ships on their ass, and they get shot down. Back at the police headquarters, though, we see Two Boots getting told that Lawson is now wanted for treason, and the, you know, General whatever, Lieutenant Dickhead Blake is like, don't be like your partner, and then looks down and sees his boots and is like, "Take those off. Those aren't your uniform, robot. What is wrong with you?" So the evil Empire is gonna take Two Boots' Two Boots. That's terrible. You can't do that to the boy, but maybe this is where Two Boots draws the line. They wanted to take my personal attire, my boots that Captain Lawson gave me. I am against the Empire. You know, maybe he starts shooting on them. But the rest of our team trying to get the hell out of there, and Lawson has an idea, so they go to his lady friend, Reyna Soul, at the casino, and we saw her in an earlier episode, and he asks her for help getting them off the planet, and she's like, "Are you crazy?" And he's like, "Listen, I wouldn't come if I didn't have any other option." And she says she'll see what she can do. But Spybot, you know, Maul's little bot there that I absolutely love. Spybot's a crazy fuck of a robot. He's almost as unhinged as Chopper, but, like, more evil. Like the Sith version of Chopper. Where, like, Chopper's evil, but he's still a good guy. You know what I mean? Like, this guy's just Sith, and he's just like, "I'll kill anything in my path, even the Empire." You know, like, especially the Empire. Spybot does not like them, as we see that Spybot sees an Empire droid, and it's like those probe droids, and he calls it the trashy droid, and the imps are getting closer to Maul's little headquarters there, but Maul hears where the Jedi are, and Maul's gonna help her with the Inquisitor Jedi Hunter Marak, because he sees an opportunity for her to become his ally. Back with our crew, though, Daki asks Lawson if they can trust his new friend there, and we hear that Soul is one of his confidential informants from his son, at least that's what he thinks, but we hear Lawson telling Daki that they go way back, and that before he was a detective, he knew her and he would travel around a bit, and he doesn't say exactly what he would do, but he says that she was a bounty hunter at that time, and they got into a scrap on Catalor, and he says it went as bad as it can go, and Lawson only survived because of her, and she only survived because of him. But then the Empire shows up at their front door, and she's like, "If it goes poorly, go down this hatch," and of course it goes poorly almost immediately, and Devin and Riley go down together, and Daki and Lawson stay back together to fight off the stormtroopers. But down in the hangar where the elevator led to, Marak is there, and Daki and Lawson are still upstairs, but they make it down, and they're still in a shootout with a bunch of stormtroopers, and they're being chased, and we never see them actually get to meet up with Riley and Devin, so as far as we know, Lawson and Daki are still in a shootout with all those stormtroopers. But Spybot locates where Devin and Riley got off to, and Devin makes it onto a train, but Marok jumps on after them, and they fight one-on-one, and Marok says to her, "Where is Maul? Tell me." And we pan up, and Maul's right there, and he says, "I'm right here." And he joins the fight and jumps in, and Devin hesitates for a moment, is trying to decide, do I help this Inquisitor kill Maul and then he's just gonna kill me, or do I help Maul kill this guy? So she chooses to join into the fight and help Maul attack Marok. And Marok stops when she does this and says, "You will all be dealt with." And it's a great fight scene, but Marok fires up his spinning lightsaber blade, and Maul just kind of looks at him like, "Okay, I see you got the two blade, but I invented the two blade, bitch." And it's a great little scene. I have the clip of it. Ooh, that was a sick little fight, and it was longer than that. That was just the part where he fires it up, and that was like the end where they slice off the back of the train and separate them, leaving Marok sitting there in the darkness just with his blade as he disappears as they keep going on their train. And then Devin turns and looks at Maul and faces the blade at him, and Maul just turns off his blade and walks away. And Maul says, "Now you have seen the face of your true enemy." So maybe these two are going to be working together. But Marok then goes back to the Star Destroyer and messages back to his lord and says he can confirm the presence of Maul, and he's more dangerous than we thought. He is in league with two Jedi. How should I proceed? And that's credits on episode 6. So yeah, what, 7, 8, 9, and 10? So only 2 more weeks of Maul Shadow Lord. Oh, I wish there was 4, but 2 weeks left of Maul Shadow Lord. I kind of like these 2-episode bundles. But who is Marok calling at the end there? It has to be his lord, so it's got to be Darth Vader, maybe? So Darth Vader shows up in this show? That'd be sick. Or maybe Darth Sidious, we don't know. But I'd love to hear your thoughts about this show down in the comment section below, or message me your thoughts about Maul Shadow Lord to my other social medias. Links for those down in the descriptions below. But if you made it this far into the video and you'd like to support the channel, the best way of doing that is dropping a like, commenting down below, subscribing if you haven't already, and hit that bell so you don't miss next week's Maul Shadow Lord breakdown of episodes 7 and 8, and then the week after that, the finale. And I've really been loving this show, but I'd love to hear all your thoughts about Star Wars Maul Shadow Lord. And the breakdown for the Mandalorian and Grogu trailer came out on Friday, so go check that out, y'all. And once again, my name's Big Cam. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you gorgeous folks in the next video. Peace.